Hello and welcome to Whether or Not. We have another great show for you today. Brian will be in the studio with your weekend forecast. Marissa will be talking about Hurricane Katrina, and we have great nature in the news stories for you today. So sit back and relax because Whether or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to Whether or Not. I'm your host, Veronica Dolan.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Mastro.
Well, Brian, it seems that we've been pretty nice this past week weather-wise. Are we looking to continue that trend?
Yeah, this past week it's been more akin to what you would find in, say, San Diego in July than you would find in State College in September. It's been pretty much 80 to 83 degrees every day and very clear and sunny skies. And we'll see if that's going to stick around coming up soon in our forecast.
We'll look forward to that, but now to Nature in the News.
Another massive wildfire ignited this past weekend in California. The Valley Fire has already burned over 70,000 acres and destroyed more than 600 homes. The blaze began Saturday, September 12th, and due to the extreme drought in California, this fire spread rapidly, quickly engulfing over 40,000 acres in its first 24 hours. Sadly, one person has perished in the blaze. A disabled elderly woman was unable to evacuate her home and was trapped in the path of the fire. Additionally, 4 firefighters suffered serious injuries. They're receiving medical care and are expected to make a full recovery. Fire continues to rage in Northern California and is only 30% contained at this time. And over 2,700 firefighters are continuing to battle the ferocious fire.
The world has seen 3 inches of sea level rise since the early 1990s, and we should expect at least 3 feet more by roughly the end of the century. This is claimed by NASA scientists, given what we know about how the ocean expands as it warms and how ice sheets and glaciers are adding water to the seas. While some parts of the world have actually seen sea levels drop thanks to long-term processes like the retreat of ancient glaciers, others, like some Southeast Asia nations, have seen sea level rise by as much as 9 inches. Sea level along the west coast of the United States has actually fallen over the past 20 years because long-term natural cycles there are hiding the impact of global warming. Josh Willis, an oceanographer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, said in a press release, "Scientists say the sea level rise we're experiencing today is due to 3 culprits: the expansion of oceans as their water warms up, the loss of ice from the massive Greenland and Antarctica ice sheets, and the melting of mountain glaciers around the world, such as in Central Asia. Some of the signs seen in the satellite data right now are red flags that glaciers might not be as stable as scientists once thought. There's also always a lot of attention on the changes seen now, but the main priority needs to be on what the changes could be tomorrow."
Flash flooding in southern Utah has killed at least 18 people since Monday night. National Weather Service radar estimated over 1.5 inches of rain fell in the area of Hilldale, Utah on Monday. The rain came so fast that many residents were unaware of the warnings issued for the flooding. The mountainous terrain allowed waters to flow into Short Creek, where waters rose nearly 5.5 feet in under 20 minutes before the river gauge broke and stopped recording data. This massive and sudden rise of water inundated the surrounding area of Hilldale, Utah, and Colorado City, Arizona. It's caught many residents by surprise, and many were caught in their vehicles in the floodwaters and simply just had no place to go, as their vehicles were swept away. This became the single deadliest flash flood event in Utah's history, killing 18, and others are still missing, and the rescue effort is ongoing.
Although summer is nearly at an end, here's a cool sweet treat to feast on. Scientists in Scotland have found a way for you to enjoy your ice cream cone before it drips down your fingers. Although making a better ice cream wasn't their initial goal, a team of researchers from the universities of Dundee and Edinburgh have identified a naturally occurring protein that allows your cone to last longer in the heat. The protein, known as BSLA, is formed as part of an effort by microbial communities to protect themselves and forms a film between interfaces of air and water. This means that it can stabilize air bubbles, stabilize a mixture of oil and water, and coat solid surfaces. This combination is the definition of ice cream. Stable ice cream not only melts slower, it has a smoother texture as well. The protein film discourages the growth of those annoying ice crystals that form when ice cream sits in the freezer a little too long. As for taste testing, they haven't reached that stage yet, but what is being replaced is a small molecule in a small amount. Therefore, it should not have a large impact on taste or how it feels in your mouth.
Hello, I'm Brian Mastro here for Weather or Not, here with a look at your forecast for central Pennsylvania. Here's the setup that we have for the beginning of the weekend. We have this high pressure system that is set up over Virginia, and that's what's brought us this very nice weather we've been having over this last week. We've been in the 80s and sunny pretty much every day. However, at the start of our weekend, there is this low pressure system and this cold front that will be pushing rain eastward as the weekend continues into Saturday. That cold front gets a little bit closer, as some of those showers are working their way into western Pennsylvania, and then some of those could even work their way into the State College area overnight on Saturday. And then by Sunday, this will be working its way out of our region, and there's not going to be too much rain as it begins to dry out over the mountains of Pennsylvania. And then we'll have this high-pressure system behind it that will be setting up our pattern for next week that we will be taking a look at in our extended forecast. However, after the passing of the cold front, it will be bringing a nice, significant cool down back to around our average temperatures for this time of year. So what are we actually looking at for this weekend? For Friday, we're going to expect a high around 82 degrees with mostly sunny skies. So it'll be another very nice day out there. And then for Friday night, we're going to drop down to around 56 degrees, once again with mostly clear skies. And then working their way into Saturday when we have our big football game against Rutgers, we're going to have a high temperature around 82 degrees. So it will be kind of warm out there during your afternoon tailgating. However, it will be, once again, a pretty nice day. And then once we work into Saturday night, remember that game does kick off at 8 p.m. We're expecting kickoff temperature right around 70 degrees. And then there is that slight chance of a shower. However, that's not expected to be here until the fourth quarter or even after the game is over. And then for Sunday, we're going to have a very nice conclusion to your weekend with temperature around 72 degrees and mostly sunny skies once again. So make sure you're able to get out there and enjoy it. And now we will have our very own Marissa Lautenbacher with a feature on Hurricane Katrina 10 years later.
As we start to get into the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, we haven't seen much tropical activity in the United States as of late, in which the hurricane season actually lasts from the 1st of June until the end of November, which is the start and the end of meteorological summer and fall. We haven't seen any enhanced or major hurricanes in the past couple of years. Many people may remember both the 2004 and 2005 Atlantic hurricane seasons, in which several hurricanes had made direct impact in the Gulf of Mexico. None of those hurricanes are more memorable or infamous than Katrina.
It's been 10 years since New Orleans, Louisiana was absolutely devastated by the impacts of Hurricane Katrina. Before Katrina made her debut in Louisiana, she was only a disorganized group of thunderstorms. As the then Category 1 hurricane moved over southern Florida, many thought that it would be the last of Katrina. Dr. David Titley, a professor of meteorology at Penn State, shared his stories of Katrina with a group of students this past week.
This one, they didn't have 6 days. They had 36 hours, maybe. And it's the weekend, and they're not remembering Betsy, but they are remembering all the ones who missed them, and they're thinking, we'll be fine.
This, unfortunately, was the mindset of many. However, the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico can rejuvenate even the most anemic of hurricanes, such as the case with Katrina. She built up the strength of a Category 5 and made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. Any city would be devastated by such an event.
It's all wind damage they're talking about. They really don't talk about the levees are going to breach and you're all going to fill up.
It wasn't just the 125 mile-per-hour winds, But it was the 10 to 30 meter storm surge is what really did New Orleans in. New Orleans is actually several feet below sea level, and the city had only a system of levees for its only protection.
They thought the water that was there was from overtopping. They didn't realize they'd actually lost the levees. And they lost them in 3 separate places. And they didn't figure that out for about 2 or 2.5 days. So New Orleans is filling up, and most people don't even know why.
This was all over breaking news, and many had to be water rescued from their roofs of their homes as they did not have the resources to leave. New Orleans is stricken by poverty and the disabled who were unable to evacuate. The hurricane's wind damage and storm surge destroyed more than 200,000 homes and displaced 800,000 citizens of New Orleans. The residents of a flooded city were left with the mess even after most of the country had moved on.
And you just got to realize it's going to take a long, long time to dig out. Meanwhile, there was tremendous outpouring of sympathy for about 6 weeks from the rest of the country. But then something else happened in the news and people start to move on, but you don't.
Many people wanted to build back New Orleans the way it originally was. But the rebuild had to take into account the potential impact of another hurricane with the same magnitude of Katrina. Reconstruction was also hindered by bureaucratic issues as well as funding from FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. But thankfully, it was the volunteer effort that really rebuilt the city.
The volunteers really is what rebuilt the coast. It was not FEMA, believe me, but it was the volunteer efforts.
Even though 10 years of rebuilding has gone by, New Orleans will never be the same as it once was. But will a hurricane the caliber of Katrina ever happen again in the next year or even the next 100 years? Dr. David Titley shared his feelings on the matter.
They would like to tell me this is a 1 in 100 year event, and I would say actually it's a once in a mortgage event. And it kind of is. It's like 25 to 30 years is sort of the repeat period.
We shouldn't take this quiet stretch during the hurricane season for granted, but we should be prepared for the next Katrina. For Whether or Not, I'm Marissa Lautenbacher.
Hello, I'm Brian Mastro once again, here with a look at your extended forecast. And we'll start by taking a look at the weekend recap. And for Friday, we'll have a high temperature around 82 degrees under mostly sunny skies, with more of the same coming into our area for Saturday. However, there is that slight chance of a shower that I mentioned before for Saturday night, overnight into Sunday morning. And then for Sunday, after that slight chance of a shower moves out, we are looking at mostly sunny skies with that nice drop of temperatures down to around 72 degrees. And with that drop in temperatures, we'll be setting up our trend that we will be having for the next week and a half as well. As you see, these temperatures will be dropping to right around our average temperature for this time of year, which is right around 68 degrees. So the temperatures will be becoming much more fall-like as we progress into the beginning of next week.
Well, thanks, Brian, for that forecast. And except for that chance of rain that we're looking at on Saturday, it looks like we're going to continue this nice weather pattern.
Yeah, we are going to continue this nice weather pattern. It should remain to be pretty sunny over the course of the next week, and we're going to be dropping down to our around average for this time of year, right as we begin to head into the beginning of fall.
We'll look forward to that, but now to our Weather Whiz quiz. Earlier in the show, we asked you, what was the maximum amount of rain State College received in the month of September? Was it A, 5.05 inches, B, 12.10, C, 8.02, or D, 16.15? If you guessed A, you're right. And that happened September 2014. And our average for September for rain is actually 0.12 inches. And this month on the 13th, we actually got around 2.63 inches already, so we're above average. And that's all we have for the show today. I'm your host, Veronica Dolan.
I'm your forecaster, Brian Mastro.